Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a huge one. We're decoding what is, without a doubt, one of the most crucial skills in the entire data world, SQL.
I mean, think about it. Our world basically runs on data now. From your online shopping cart to that social media feed you're scrolling, every single second, just vast amounts of information are being created. Every click, every purchase, every single view, it all gets added to this enormous digital universe. So, okay, it's one thing to have all this information floating around, but how do you actually make sense of it? I mean, how do you find the one specific answer you need in that giant ocean of data? How does a company figure out who its best customers are? Or how does a scientist pinpoint that one tiny detail that leads to a breakthrough? Well, it turns out you have to learn to speak its language. You've got to know how to ask the right questions. And in the world of data, that language, it's called SQL. Okay, so what is SQL anyway? Let's break it down, starting with the real basics. When you're using SQL, what are you even talking to? The thing you're talking to is a database. And really, you could just think of it like a perfectly organized digital filing cabinet, right? Instead of a bunch of messy papers, you've got these super neat tables, and every single piece of info has its own specific home, all laid out in rows and columns, kind of like a spreadsheet. So here's the key takeaway. If the database is the filing cabinet, SQL is the language you use to talk to it. It's how you ask the questions. It's how you say, hey, can you please find me all the files on employees in the sales department who were hired last year? All right, so let's see how this language actually works. We're going to learn its three most fundamental words. Seriously, these three are the building blocks for pretty much every question you'll ever ask. It's actually a really simple logical structure. First, you select what you want to see. The specific columns you're interested in, like maybe first name and last name. Then you tell it where to look with from, like look in the employees table. And finally, you filter for just the specific rows you want using where. Now the where clause, this is where the real power is. This thing lets you get incredibly specific. You can find employees with a salary, say, greater than $50,000, or find employees who work in finance and were hired after 2020. You can even find all the names that start with the letter A using pattern matching. It's all about that precision filtering. Okay, so pulling data from one table, that's useful, for sure. But the real magic of SQL, the thing that makes it so powerful, is its ability to connect different tables together. This is what takes you from looking at a simple list to seeing a rich, connected web of your information. This is what unlocks the deep analysis. So just imagine for a second your data is split up. You've got one table with employee names and ages, and then a totally separate one with their job titles and salaries. Now, they're obviously related, but they're not in the same place. But look closely. See how they both share that employee ID column? That right there, that's the key. What we do is use a command called a join. And what this does is it tells the database, hey, look at both of these tables. Find every single row where the employee ID is the same, and then just stitch them together. It's like matching up puzzle pieces. And just like that, you get a single, unified view. Suddenly, you can see an employee's name, their age, their job title, and their salary all in one neat row. We've literally created a complete picture from separate little pieces of information. And I can't stress this enough, this concept is absolutely fundamental to data analysis. But wait, there's more. SQL isn't just about grabbing individual records. No. Its real power lies in its ability to zoom out and discover large-scale patterns by summarizing all that data into a few key insights. So, for example, what if you don't need to see every single person's salary? I mean, what if your boss just walks over and asks, hey, what's the average salary for the whole company? You're not going to hand them a list of 1,000 numbers, right? You need one single number. Well, that's exactly where these things called aggregate functions come in. They're these super powerful commands that do a calculation on a whole bunch of values and just give you back one summary number. So you can count how many employees you have, find the average or average salary, sum up the total sales, or find the max and min, the highest and lowest values in a column. And here's where it gets really cool. When you combine these functions with a group by clause, man, you unlock some seriously powerful analysis. Now you're not just asking for the average salary of the whole company, you're asking for the average salary broken down by each department. This is how you go from just looking at raw data to finding real actionable insights. So, okay, we've seen the tools, we've seen select, from, where, join, group by. But what does this all actually look like in the real world? Like, what is a data analyst actually doing on a Tuesday afternoon?
Well, the first step, and I mean almost always, is data cleaning. Because let me tell you, real-world data is messy. So an analyst will use SQL to do things like remove duplicate entries, standardize terms, make sure things like USA and United States are all treated the same way, and figure out what to do with missing information. Because at the end of the day, you can't trust your analysis if you can't trust your data.
All right, so once the data is clean and reliable, that's when they get to put on their detective hat. This is the fun part. They use everything we've talked about, filtering with where, connecting tables with join, and summarizing it all with group by to just explore the data. They dig around, look for hidden trends, and find the answers to really important business questions. So you see, from the simplest little request for a single name all the way up to a complex analysis that can literally shape a company's entire strategy, SQL is the essential skill. It's what lets us communicate with data. It's the tool that turns that giant ocean of information into clear, compelling stories. And your data really is telling a story. The only question is, are you ready to listen?